Hello, fellow Earth citizens. Today I wanted to open a conversation about authenticity and what I've learned through experience with authenticity and kind of how it led to me starting this little series, this little YouTube, just kind of me talking thing. And I've seen other people do it on YouTube, and it's inspired me because it's interesting just to hear other people's perspectives. Like, you don't need anything super profound to say, or like, it can be just ordinary things. And so about authenticity, it's true that we, or most of us, want to present a certain way, come across a certain way, be recognized a certain way by others, our friends, the world, everything, express ourselves in a different way. We have our own ways of expressing ourselves. It is interesting. I noticed when I was younger that I would kind of be dishonest with myself early on and with others because I didn't really like who I was or per se accept it, and things were pretty strict and shamed for different things, and also I was just kind of, dumb and naive. And we're going to talk about naivety a bit too, because that's a big part of this. With authenticity, the really beautiful thing about it is there's no shame really, and there's no having to cover up, or I don't know, it's been the relief of the anxiety of having people perceive me wrong. You're always gonna be perceived wrong, even when you don't even realize it, and that's just because people are limited. It's just a limited perception in this playing field that we exist in society and our interactions with each other. And so with just the raw honesty, I like that. After I was able to overcome and accept myself, after I got out of all the religion and all the views of the flesh and our innate desires, and how that was all shamed kind of early on. After I overcame that and accepted my sexuality, my viewpoints, my nuanced viewpoints, I know I'm a person that means well. My will is good. And sometimes I'm a travesty to my own persona or my own expression of who I am by saying stupid things or whatever, but that's not that big of a deal because I'm not trying to do that. These are really muddied up, really smudged. And alright, so what I'm getting at with the whole naivety thing, sorry, I'm just my brain's activating, is it's okay to we should give ourselves the grace to be wrong, because we are naive oftentimes, and I mean, it's obviously good not to be too dogmatic about anything, because dogma comes out of the belief that you know for sure what's the truth, and you can be very adamant and resolute about it. And I am with things, we all are with things. Authenticity provides a way to accept oneself for who you are, and work with that in front of people. And I'm not deterred at all from my life being an example of someone practicing that. So yeah, there's freedom in authenticity because you don't have to hide. You don't have to have secrets. It's, I mean, essentially just being honest with yourself, being honest with others. And there's a lot we don't know, and it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes. So authenticity, like, you can express what you want to express, say what you want to say. I guess that's the same thing. Within like consideration and respect for other people. When I was talking about entitlement versus empowerment, one of my friends, I was actually talking with one of my friends about it, and they made a really good distinction, is because I think we're actually innately, I don't like to say entitled because obviously that has negative connotations, but in a way we just innately are, I like to say our I don't like to use the word God either, but essentially our God-given, like whatever that is, our innate birthright of being consciousness bearers, to have a choice, to enjoy our journeys in our life, to fortify ourselves and feel good, be at ease and have clarity, and learn and have the ability to express ourselves. All that is empowerment, and I think we're innately, like, that's our God-given right. I mean, I'm not religious or anything. I just use like the word God as in like our most quintessential, the essence of who we are, our right as free beings. I mean, free beings by we're free to choose. And I know I'm getting off on this sidebar from what I was originally talking about, but I did also want to touch on this. A lot of times in my videos, I'll kind of go back and touch on other things that I brought up before, to kind of reiterate them, and maybe I have a different way of conveying my meaning. And so it's when it becomes entitlement. This is what my friend described is entitlement, where that becomes bad is when you think you are entitled over others. And I think that's a good way to describe entitlement. It's like when my friend said that, I was like, oh man, I feel like you nailed it on that. That's a good way to say it. I like the most short and concise way. Terrence McKenna, he referred to that as what's the term? It was right on the tip of my tongue. Parsimony, which I know being parsimonious can kind of also be thought of as being stingy, but being parsimony is just using the most simple example, that is like the easiest, most straightforward example of something without any extra, like, frivolous, like, extra explaining, just the essence of a thing. And so that's another thing that I practice. That's why I love words and descriptions and expressions with language in that way. So yeah, this authentic way of moving through this space for me has been really freeing, because I'm not afraid of what people think of me, and I don't think anyone should be afraid of what people think of them. And a lot of people will say, no, I'm not, but we often are, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just because we want to be perceived. It's like we want to be seen for who we are, and we don't want to be misunderstood and have like someone think of us in some like yucky way where it's like, no, I was not, it's like meaning that or whatever. I'm trying to think of an example, but yeah, we want to be perceived as who we are and understood by our friends. And I think one of the most, so I'm saying this because I'm remembering a time when a close friend of mine would like accuse me of things, like really misunderstanding where I was coming from with my intent behind something I did. And that was really tough. In fact, I guess I can tell the story, leaving the names out. But I was in this, well, it's kind of, I guess it'll give it away, but I think any of you who are not local and know about the band I was in this band that was funded by this guy who had a successful business, and so he went for his passion project and was generous enough to actually hire musicians and pay them. It wasn't a huge amount, but compared to what other musicians pay, I guess it was. But for us to be paid for our time, and he set it up in the band kind of like a business. He was trying to run it like a business and had us as employee owners, even though he was like calling the shots and managing everything and basically being the producer, even though he hired a professional producer. And he would also hire marketing assistants. But the way he saw it is we were like, it's like the bosses of that, even though we weren't. We were just all kind of, like the dynamic was more that we were all employees to him, even though it was set up that way. Well, this one marketing assistant I had, that we had, was like working with the band and stuff, and her and I developed a chemistry with each other, and we ended up having a relationship for like over a year and stuff, and he had told us that he didn't want anything like that happening because she was like an employee, so there's like maybe this power dynamic, but it wasn't that way between her and I, but it was perceived that way, and I was accused of that, like this power dynamic thing. And I talked with all my friends, and they were like, no, it's not the way he's accusing you of. And that was really hurtful to me, because I'm like, no, that's not who I am. Like, it was just a natural like romance that came about through that. So that's an example of that, because we want to be perceived and seen, especially by our friends who have spent time around us and we have rapport and trust with, to like not be perceived as something like yucky that we're not. I say the word yucky because I'm not thinking of the word I really want to use. Yucky is a yucky word. You know? There's aesthetic with different words. Yeah, so I can really ramble on, I'll tell you. But it's made these videos kind of fun, because I can just tell you about my life, my struggles with things, and I'm a pretty open book, I guess, in that way. There's still things I keep to myself because I feel like I don't yet have a way to convey what's happening. And, you know, I also don't need to, like, always be going on to my friends like they're my, like, therapist or something. And just project all my angst. But it's not so much I'm just projecting here, or even to my friends. I am talking about just the dynamics of being a human, and the struggles that I've come to perceive a certain way, and I haven't really heard other people talk about it in quite the ways that I talk about things. And also, like, a lot of that is naivety, because I only know so many people going through stuff that's really of a similar disposition to how I come at it. But I'm kind of on my own island in the way where where it's unacceptable, where it's acceptable, like the way I see it, it's acceptable to reject something that's unacceptable. It's not all about acceptance here. And I feel like just like radical acceptance, which I used to try to adhere to, is kind of a way of compromising your integrity. And I know that can sound like a prideful thing, but the reason I've come to that is because, the whole surrender thing didn't really work for me. I felt like I gave away a part of myself. I feel like I compromised a part of myself by trying to surrender to something of like the way this world works. And part of my innate right as a human to have choices, and free will, if you want to call it that. Essentially, that's what it is, right? It's okay to not be okay with the way this whole paradigm, this whole structure is. And so I've been able to accept myself not accepting things, if that makes sense. Because the kind of choices that are presented to us, often to me, it's like a this or that thing. Or there can be multiple choices for things, but like political choices, and even when I'm on my phone and stuff, like, this is one of the most frustrating things about technology, is that there's tons of options and all this stuff for stuff I'm never gonna use, and there's not options for things that I want to be able to have options for, to customize my settings or whatnot. And that's just so ubiquitous in everything as far as technology. Like, I would design everything way differently. I believe I could actually make stuff more straightforward and intuitive and user-friendly. Because a lot of the choices here, it's like, okay, you can choose between this or that, and I'm like, I would choose neither of those things. That's not a choice. It's like, would you, it's like almost as offensive if someone, it's like, were to approach you and just be like, all right, it's like, would you like to fuck on the couch or in the living room? You can be like, no, I don't want to fuck you at all. Like, anyway, that's kind of a weird example, but I was thinking about that last night, and the choices we have here are sorry excuses for choices, in my opinion. So I know this video is kind of sparse. I have more to say on it, and I'm learning to talk about these things without having a conversation with someone, because often it's a lot more, like, there's a lot more to be said when it's more of a conversation and other people bring up other things and it unfolds into more specific contexts and things. Because it's good to have examples. It's good to have examples for things, because I say a lot of things that could be taken lots of ways depending on the situation. And in this kind of world, there's like pretty much exceptions for every rule. So it's like there's never anything that's just like, it's always this way. Except for more stuff like physics, maybe, like gravity or something.